Welcome back to Watkins, Glen International. Apologies for the small technical hiccup. We are back live and should be able to take you to the end. Just about a minute and a half left in qualifying. Since you were gone, Fabian Gerber retains the provisional pole in the prototypes. And now Villy Rolla is at the top of the order. He's been the dominant force so far. And just now, it looks like Rob Olenek moves onto the front row, which is well ahead of Mukanos, Adam.
And Nick Bucano's down in the sixth position. He had a pretty decent qualifying run, but it wasn't fast enough. In fact, he was about almost a full second off of Rob Olenik's time, and yeah, about a full second off of Villy Rolla. So this is going to be very tense for him. We're watching Jamie Hall take his, I think this is his second lap here. So almost everyone's completed their qualifying. We got 50 seconds to go. Jamie he might just make it to the line.
Yep, he's coming up to the heel of the boot. One of the places where we could see passes today. Hall's fastest time at a 45.4 is good enough for the second row on third position. I'm sure he'd like to improve upon that. He's the last one to be able to put a time in, I believe. Yeah, the last one out there in the GTOs to be able to knock one down and try and improve his position. Stefan Schlacher is out there in the prototypes as well, getting ready to put his lone time in as his first lap did not count. 10 seconds left, just going to squeak through. And Jamie Hall's second, unfortunately, not quicker. Stefan just managing to get across in time himself for a 1:33. That's good enough for ninth. But that ends our qualifying. So let's go through our starting order for the day. Fabian Gerber up on top, but his main rival this season, Steve Bycroft, is going to be starting next to him. 2/10 off, though, around the lap. That is a bit of a gap around here. Behind them, Justin Albrecht, who's been also competing for wins and is his championship rival, will be starting in third. Let's hope he can make it through turn one this time, though. Antti Terho will be starting in fourth, with Martin Krejcik hopping over from the Lotus 49s here to some more modern machinery in fifth place. Tommy Unhola will be starting in sixth. A name I don't think we're familiar with in this series. Nate Lupson will be starting in seventh. Antonio Alvarez will be P8. Stefan Schlacher, as we mentioned, that last second time put in, will be starting P9. John Keefe will be in 10th. Heitor Sintes Gayindo will be 11th. And then in 12th, you've got J.E. Hyde. Gareth Robishaw will be starting 13th. You won't see it here until the last one, but Tobias Gerber, Ben Laughter, and Ryan Lang did not get times in and will be at the back of the prototype field. Adam?
Villy Rolla is going to start off with the pole in the GTO class, with Rob Olenek sitting behind him in second position. We have Jamie Hall actually in this class right now in third position. And then Yoni Hagner going to start off in fourth. Ove Trankere down in fifth position. And Nick Bucano's relegated all the way back to sixth position. That is quite a ways to gain back for him to try and challenge Rob Olenek for that points lead today. Andre Castro starting off in seventh alongside Daniel Sadro. Reed Miller starting off in ninth alongside Seth Pfeiffer in 10th place for the GTOs. 11th is Aaron Curtis and Michael Haynes starting off in 12th. Then we have Jess Coleman and Douglas Cooper, who did not set times.
See them lining up behind the Porsche pace car, waiting for them to be led around their pace lap. Now they get going finally. Let's talk about turn one, though, Adam. We've seen both in real life and here on iRacing, it can be a bit of a hazard on lap one, even with these rolling starts. And we saw last week that Justin Albrecht, unfortunately, through, I'd say, no fault of his own, was taken out in the very first corner. If you were him, would you be a little bit more cautious under there, or with the championship on the line, is it still gung-ho?
I would definitely go for it. This, especially for the GTPs today, it's track position. That is the name of the game around Watkins Glen. For the GTOs, with this long run up to the back straight through the S's, these guys have a little bit more of an opportunity for draft effect. So I'd be a little bit more cautious if I was in the GTOs going into turn one, because where it's really going to matter is entering the carousel. When the GTPs, you got to get going fast, because these guys don't have as much draft effect. So any sort of time that you're losing being cautious in these first turns is going to come back to bite you.
See them heading up onto the backstretch. trying to think in '89 if whether or not they would have actually had the inner loop there, or if it would have been added yet or not. It was, of course, put in there after a tragic accident in NASCAR that saw a death back. I believe it was. I want to say it was in the '80s, but I'm trying to remember exactly what year it was. And then they slowed up that portion, which you see most modern series run now, but with no such safety concerns here in iRacing. They, of course, will be taking that old school route. 91 is when it was added, is what we're hearing. After 91. So, yeah, they would have ran all the way straight to the carousel in these cars back in '89.
And you think about how much power they have, both of these cars with very strong turbos. That's it's amazing that something tragic didn't happen earlier or with these vehicles, because these didn't have the same safety concerns that the NASCAR cars did. So it's just amazing to think back to how racing was back then, and it's especially awesome that we can go and do that kind of racing today through with iRacing without having to take the risks ourselves.
Yeah, that's one of the sort of perks here you have in the sim worlds. Even more amazing, they obviously didn't have paved runoff to the outside of it either back then. So it was just grass and then a tire barrier before the Armco. So that had to be incredibly scary, chucking this car down into there. As they come out of the boot back onto the main course, the pace car leading them around the final two corners. Then we get racing for 1 hour here today in the Kamel GT series, including this one. Only 3 rounds left to go. We're coming down to the end of it, and Fabian Gerber once again leading the way in the championship. He's going to lead the way to the start-finish line. As the pace car peels off, he waits a little bit, checks up, and he gets going. He timed that one perfectly. Justin Albrecht did too, though, as he gets ahead of Steve Bycroft. They come down into turn 1.
Oh, there's been a massive wreck in the Audis before they even got to the final turn. A massive accident. A lot of people off and trying to see who's still going. It looks like Billy Rolla, Yoni Hagner, and Ove Tranger, and Nick Bukanos made it through there, but Rob Olenek has been collected in that accident.
Wow, didn't even get to start the race. We'll come back to that in a bit as we see some of the fields work their way through turn 1. Now we switch back to the battle for the lead in the prototypes. Justin Albrecht had a look into the carousel. Wasn't quite there, but certainly applying some pressure to Fabian Gerber. There's a little bit of a breakaway from the top 3. Bycroft pulling away from the rest of the pack, which is all very, very close behind.
Billy Roll's the first one to go through the carousel in the Audis. These GTPs doing a really good job of staying clean and staying nice, but everyone needing to stay very close together. The Audi fight's definitely not going to be as close, especially with that accident. You can see just how spread out they are as we go take a look at this shot. Look at that. It is just quite a fragmented field at this point. And Villarola really being able to take off. Yoni Hagner in second, Ove Trangere third, and that puts Nicholas Bukanos in the 4th position in the Audis.
Well, this is the boon that Bukanos needed to bring the championship fight back to Olenek, but it certainly robs us of quite a bit of battling since we expected the draft to play a role there. Jamie Hall is out of the race. It looks like he has left, and Rob Olenek is in the pits trying to take repairs to see what he can salvage here. We watch our prototypes come down the front stretch into turn 1. It is still Gerber leading, Albrecht second, Bycroft third. How about Tommy Unhola, though, running in 4th and has actually run down Steve Bycroft?
Yeah, he's gaining on Bycroft for sure. And with we've got some very interesting weather today. The track temperatures are going to be fluctuating quite a bit because of all of the cloud cover that's coming over the track. So these GTPs are going to handle quite differently from lap to lap. Currently, air temp is 83. Track temp is a wild 110, but as these cloud cover continues to come over the track, that temperature is going to continue to fluctuate, Joe.
Yeah, those hot temperatures certainly not helping them try and find grip out there. Look at this battling going with Krejcik back here, though. That is him at the lead of the group, being followed by Terho, who has to slot in behind, gets a decent run, decides better of it. Nate Lupson is behind him. Now he takes a poke in. as Terho tries to take the position away, loses grip mid-corner in the heel. That compromises an exit. Nate tries to duck down to the inside. He's got the desired line into turn 9. Advantageous move for the number 13.
That was just amazing racing. Everyone racing very clean, giving each other enough room, enough quarter, and that just allows Nate Lupson to really take off there. He was able to get ahead of Terho, and Terho now trying to claw his way back. We'll see whether he does anything in a one.
Fabian Gerber up at the front of them sets his fastest lap of the race, but wow, some frantic action, all to try and settle the top 5. And you can see them now weaving their way through the S's up to the top of the hill. These cars not known for a slipstream, but it looks like Lupson is hungry for one more because he's got a good tow down the backstretch. Looks to the outside of Martin Krejcik, who tries to defend as they come towards the very swift carousel. Swinging it into the corner. He's got the inside, and it's just not going to work out for Lupson.
Yeah, Lupson out there in the gray. He was unable to do anything with that man, but he's really fighting the back of Krejcik. Oh my goodness, everyone's just getting super close. Terho right on the back of Lupson. Everybody this is the closest battle on track for sure, and these guys are really duking it out.
We're not missing anything at the front of the GTOs. We'll break in if we start to get a battle over there to cover, but they've all been very spread out. Up to the heel of the boot yet again. This time, Terho not as good of a run, but he ducks it down to the apex a little bit cleaner than Nate. Stays right in his tire tracks, looking to try and get that position back.
Well,
down a little bit farther. I think we had a change for position in the GTO.
Yeah, it was Reed Miller who got past Aaron Curtis through the S's. Aaron Curtis got extremely loose through the S's, and so that promotes Miller up to P5 in the GTOs. That is a good thing for him. He's definitely going to try and get his way back up to Mechanos and try and make a pass. We're going to watch Aaron Curtis here as he tries to get through the S.
Looks like just a little bit of the curb kind of unsettled the car there. So just clip it, and that's all it took for it to unfortunately get a little bit squirrely underneath him. As we come back live, Reed Miller is running in 5th, but has a long ways up, almost 10 seconds up to Mukanos ahead of him. Back to the battle in the prototypes.
Oh, no!
And, oh, wow, he didn't hit anything. How did Lupson avoid the barriers in other cars?
That is nearly impossible in a GTP, and that is Nate Lupson just getting loose, under braking as he goes through this corner here. Take a look as they go through the carousel. Lupson really trying to be aggressive on Krejcik. He comes to the outside here and just misses his braking point by just 10 meters, and that puts him way in the gray. Wow, he just barely misses everybody and parks it right on the cutoff. What an amazing job.
I thought for sure that he was either going to go into the barrier or he was swinging into John Keefe. He managed to counter steer at just the right time, but unfortunately,
Antonio Alvarez has had a problem. He's hit the wall, and that knocks him out of that battle for the top 10. So he's got significant upside damage.
This is coming out of turn 9. Let's take a look at the replay. See, he's a little ways back. I'll be honest, and I say this on a lot of broadcasts here, Adam, but turn 9 is my least favorite corner by far. It is so tough to drive through there.
Yeah, you just unsettle the car as you go through that turn. It just kind of lifts over this crest, and it's really, really difficult to do. But Terho is trying to fight around Martin Krejcik. Martin Krejcik defending very well for P5 in the GTPs right now, but Terho right on his back.
Yeah, that was Alvarez we saw that was fighting with J.E. Hyde. Alvarez did manage to hold him off, but this is much farther up the order. As we watch Krejcik being chased by Terho. The Finn has been applying pressure ever since he's managed to retake that position from Lupson with his mistake.
This battle for P5 is about to be joined by Stefan Schlacker, who's back there in the 7th position looking on. He's got a little bit more pace than these two, especially with Kraytrick having to make defensive moves into the corners. But Terho sticking right there with Kraytrick, but Kraytrick's got a decent run off the corners, but they're starting to catch this lap GTO traffic, and that might start to complicate things, especially because they're catching them in the S's.
Yeah, already the leaders have gotten by. Which side are they going to pick? Looks like Pfeiffer is going to stay low, let them swing around the outside with their extra downforce. Terho is gaining. And in fact, he's gaining quickly. They're going to go on the outside of Michael Haynes. I'm not sure if he's gaining quick enough. He's looking to the inside.
He's going to look.
Ooh, I don't know about this. He's given the inside. I'm surprised that Kraytrick let him have it. And that's going to be the position Terho's been trying for a while, and finally he moves himself up into 5th.
Yeah, I'm surprised too, Joe, because the outside is so gray. It's really hard to turn in. You get a ton of understeer when you try and turn in on the outside of that corner, even in these high downforce vehicles. So I'm surprised that Kraytrick gave up the inside.
I think things have settled down a little bit. I believe, do we still have the replay spooled for that opening incident before the start-finish line with our GTOs? Because we never really got to take a look at that. Adam, you saw this better than I did.
Yeah, I saw it come apart. I think it was Rob Olnick who got turned, so we're going to take a look at that.
Oh, there's the tail end of it. So even before the final corner.
Yes. So you see that they get the start right here as they go into turn 10, and then it was in the backstretch of turn 11 where things start to fall apart for everybody. Rob Olnick just got loose. No, that wasn't Rob Olnick. That was the 11 car of Jamie Hall who got loose on the outside.
So it was two dirty torque drivers who suffered the worst out of that.
There's going to be some apologies from the hauler. Yeah. He gets loose and he dips those rear tires into the dirt and keeps his foot on the throttle. Keeping your foot on the throttle is something you do all the time, but I guess that's just not something that he was able to hold on to.
We'll watch it one more time from above. When we come back, we should go to Stefan Schlacher, who is in a great battle with John Keefe. Oh, that is just an absolute mess.
Oh, and Stefan spun. Stefan got some lag off the corner, and he spins around and has to back into the wall. So if we actually go back about, full 30 seconds here, we're going to see this battle between Stefan Schlacher and John Keefe. John Keefe putting pressure on Schlacher and forcing him into a mistake.
Yeah, they almost were banging wheels. There you can see coming through the chute just how close they were getting. Schlacher thought he could have another go at it, ducking to the inside of the toe of the boot. Like you said, just not enough grip for the car there. Man, he lost the most time, though, out of just having to let the traffic by because of the Audis being there.
Yeah, but those of you who've watched any sort of compilations of best moments in iRacing know that a lot of drivers tend not to wait. So that's, oh man.
That is unfortunate. So he's going to have to take the pits. And we also will want to rewind to a recent pass for the lead. Albrecht has gotten by within about a lap and a half ago. He's still being chased by Gerber. Let's see if we can find the replay of this pass. It was coming up the hill.
Look at this. He just was able to get a better run off of the S's and is able to just go to the inside and outbrake Gerber as they went into the. Wow, this is what a good pass from Albrecht. Just a really good run from him.
I feel like Albrecht has been practicing lately. In the past, it's been Gerber who's outpaced everyone. Justin suddenly really is all over him and putting the ball in his court. So the number 9 now back up to the top, trying to claw back that points deficit from last week.
Definitely, but that battle that they went through was the battle for the lead in the GTOs. Yoni Hagner has gotten to the back of Villirola. They've got some GTP traffic to deal with, but this back straight's going to allow for Hagner to get a good draft if he could just hang on to a good exit here.
And that is Tommy Unhola, who is plugged up in there a bit. Boy, this is going to get tasty. Two Glacier Racing drivers, two Finns, who are known hot shoes in this car. When was the last time we've seen these two fight here in the Kamel series, honestly? As they get overtaken by another.
Joe.
Yeah. Well, while we got robbed of the rest of the field battling out, I think we are in for a spicy little treat for the lead in the GTOs. Villirola, your leader in the number 5. Behind in the number 2, that is Yoni Hagner.
Yeah, these guys are duking it out, and yeah, Yoni Hagner has been saving his tires a little bit more. Villirola, who usually just runs his own pace, has seen Yoni Hagner coming up behind, has been trying to push it a little bit. But with the GTP traffic, it's really been favoring Yoni a bit, as opposed to Rolla, who's been held up in places where he would rather not be.
That's Martin Krejcik, who's plugged up a little bit. He's trying to get through there, coming through the penultimate turn. That holds up Rolla just a little. And now they've got John Keefe as well. Keefe waiting patiently, seeing this is a battle for the lead. He's going to get 1, but he's not going to get 2 here. Oh, but whoa! Maybe he will. He comes in very late. And Villirola gets held up, missing the apex of the 90.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that's been holding Rolla up, is these GTPs trying to make desperate moves. Wow, take a look at how drifty they are through this section. But they're actually going to be quite a bit. They're going to be faster than. Oh my goodness, it's 3 wide as they go by. This GTP battle for 10th position is really starting to heat up. They're still 3 wide as they go down the backstretch.
That was laughter being passed by Sintez Guillindo, but the battle for the lead between Rolla and Hagner side by side coming through the carousel. Hagner can't make the pass stick, just as Tobias Gerber goes to the inside, opens the door, but Rolla manages to slam it shut just in time before Hagner can sneak through.
What a
great
move.
Job by all involved there.
This is why I love the Kamel community. These guys don't hold anything back. That was not the best move to make. It's not the ideal move, but they made it. They made it work, and everyone's still alive at the end. What an impressive showing.
Yeah, if everyone's still got 4 wheels on the ground and they're racing, then I guess you can't really fault them too badly as they come out of the boot one more time. Hagner certainly making sure that Rolla has to keep those eyes glued to his mirror, because we are only a quarter of the way through this race. They're not under threat from Ove Trangrate, who is behind them. He's about 7.5 seconds back and is no threat.
Yeah, this is currently the closest battle on the track. Justin Albrecht's taken off from Fabian Gerber to the legs of about 1.5 seconds. So as they get passed by Nate Lupson, who had his own unfortunate events earlier on, they're really just duking it out here. And every time they get to this backstretch, Yoni Hagner has an opportunity to pass Villirola if he can make it work through the S's and not get slowed up.
Behind them, that is J.E. Hyde, trying to not get involved with this, but him slowing up means that Antonio Alvarez is starting to catch. Remember, Antonio has some damage, so he'll be eager to take any position he can. Oh, and this is interrupted again. Whoa, that was late to the inside.
Inside, outside of Villirola. Rolla just trying to survive at this point, I think. He's also trying to hold off Yoni Hagner, but he's had so many close calls. Frankly, a miracle he's still alive.
I get the sense that Villy must have ice in his veins to be able to stay this calm as GTP cars zip around everywhere and still retain the lead on top of it. Right on board, looking back at Yoni Hagner in the number 2, still giving chase, and though opportunities have been there, nothing has been solid enough that he's been able to overtake. The way things are going, it looks like eventually he's going to get one.
Yeah, and Joe, these drivers make it look like these Audis are maneuverable, but these things are pretty much boats with four-wheel drive. They're really hard to steer and to drive. You can't make quick movements like you can in the GTPs or in other downforce cars. It really has to be very deliberate. So the fact that Rolla has been able to save his car from so many incidents is what is frankly a miracle.
Man, he is holding right with him, only 0.3 of a second back. Finally, they get a small breather with no traffic around them as they come through the 90. And all of this action, by the way, we have lost a handful of cars, but we have 16 still running. Schlocker is in the pits getting repairs. Cooper is gone. Lang is out of the race. Rob Olenek is still sitting in the pits after 17 minutes, attempting to get that car repaired. Castro and Hall also out. In the prototypes, 8th place between Laughter, Galindo, and Gerber. Still very close. This three-way fight was the one we saw weave through our leaders not long ago.
The GTP drivers hanging on at this point. Their tires are starting to go away. This track's still very, very hot. 116 degrees. It's actually gone up since we haven't had as much cloud cover since the beginning of the race. And these drivers are starting to struggle with grip. We saw it with the Audis, and we're seeing it with the GTPs now too, Joe.
They're starting to fall off of the car ahead. That's John Keefe, who's about 4 seconds up the road. So watch them come out of the final corner. Ben Laughter, the front of the group that you see there, the orange and black that we're focusing on, that is Sintez Galindo. And then behind them in the brown machine, Tobias Gerber, the brother of Fabian, usually a little bit farther up, but unfortunately has not had the best of days, having to start from the back of the field.
No, he hasn't, but he's making some headway. So these guys all just trying to get the best position that they can. The GTP field has been pretty clean. There have been no major accidents, so these guys doing a really good job at hanging on. But wow, they're kind of bottling up here as they go. Oh my goodness, the 23 of Seth Pfeiffer really holding up the GTPs as they try and go around. He's just trying to do his best to run his line, but these GTPs having a hard time finding their way around.
Can't make the car invisible. He's got to put it somewhere, but thankfully they all made it by. Certainly held up Sintez Galindo. He's fallen away from Ben Laughter by nearly a second. I'm sure Laughter will appreciate the breathing room to be able to focus on his own race. Again, we still have a pit stop yet to go, and that could affect this battle as well.
Yeah, but you're not going to see any of these drivers take tires. That's not, well, at least not the Audis. The GTPs might choose to. It doesn't lose them that much time, but the Audis, it would lose them a ton of time. So you'll see these guys hang onto these tires to the end of the race, and that's going to be very difficult for the Audis.
Love how close they get to the wall and the exit of the final corner. You can really see it with that camera shot that Dougie gives us. Are they being joined by another? We'll find out later, because the battle for the lead in the GTOs is still very close, and now they've got more traffic coming up. Gareth Robichaud is behind them. He's got nobody to battle with. He's in 13th in the prototype, so he's really not in that much of a hurry. And you can see it shows. He's trying to wait for the best opportunity, looking for the jump off the final corner. This should be both of them in one, hopefully. Ooh, he didn't get the good run that he wanted.
No, Garrett's going to have to dive it in here. He's going to try to decide whether he's going to do it, and it looks like he's going to do it. This might give an opportunity, only if he ducks inside, but he chooses not to. He's going to stay right behind him and follow him through the S's. Here's another opportunity for Yoni to get a good run through here and take him as they go into the carousel.
You know, it almost looked like Yoni didn't think he was going to be given enough room down into the 90, so decided not to take it despite being very, very close. And unfortunately, though he is going to pull the draft up the backstretch, is he actually going to have a chance? Yes, he might. Oh, he's got a huge run now. Oh, but he breaks early.
Yeah, he could have stuck his nose in there and tried it, but he decided better of it. These Glacier TV drivers just hanging on, just racing each other well. Yoni's really giving looks at Billy, but they're not really taking much out of each other at this point. They're just kind of taking off from Ove Trangrade. That being said, Trangrade has clawed his way back about half a second at this point. So if these two battling are wearing out their tires and Trangrade's holding on to his, we could see this gap close by the end of the race.
Just at this point, playing the patient game, it sounds like. As we're watching this, I'm keeping half an eye on the battle for P4 because Anti-Turho, after his initial problems, has come back and is actually fighting for fourth. That's going to be with Unhola. Not sure if his pace is good enough to catch the top three. In fact, let's take a look at that because they've caught some traffic. This might be the opportunity that he needs. Oh, it sends Unhola way wide. Are they going to... Oh, he thinks about splitting him. Reed Miller, though, tries to get out of the way, and unfortunately, that interrupts the momentum of Terho.
Yeah, these guys, they're battling very well, and Anti-Terho just trying to get around Unhola. Unhola has been racing surprisingly well. He's usually one who's fairly consistent, but this P4 run has been very impressive from him.
Stays right with him. Once again, riding on board with Tommy Unhola, looking through the 007 cam. Down into the 90. He's a little bit too far back this time around. We're almost to the halfway point. I'm curious to see who is going to split it up exactly in half and who is going to try and run long. So far, I don't think we've had any takers for scheduled stops.
And Joe, we're going to see the P11 car of the GTP of John Keefe come into the pits. He had a serious accident when they were going through the carousel. He just lost it under braking, got a little bit loose and slammed into the outside wall. He really suffered a hard accident. We're going to see whether we can find this on the replay.
Back up a little bit more here to watch the incident. There's Keefe coming through the chute. Oh, he's already damaged. So yeah, he's seems to have had it quite a while ago. He is limping around. And that brings him into the pits for what is...
Oh, Anti-Terho and Unhola have gotten into each other, Joe. Anti-Terho and Unhola just wreck coming out of the carousel.
How in the world? I think this is coming out of the heel of the boot. This started with Unhola losing the car, and Terho just unfortunately had little time to react, picked the wrong side, and you're going to see them clatter into one another. Unhola in the red machine, Terho in the blue and red, and there they go.
It's not an accident you want to see, and Unhola now under pressure from Ben Laughter and Aitor Sentes Guiliando. These guys are really desperate for any sort of points. Ben Laughter trying to make his way by Unhola, but Unhola, even with the damage, is keeping decent pace. Anti-Terho's about 8 seconds up from them at this point. But wow, look at this group of cars all the way back to Tobias Gerber in 9th place. They're all going to really pull on Unhola as he's low on straight line speed, weaving to try and break the draft.
He's got a run, and it looks like Unhola is going to cover off the inside just to keep him behind for now. Krajcik was the one that inherited that 4th place after that incident, by the way. But he's a whole 20 seconds behind Steve Bycroft. So those top 3 still running away with things. We haven't covered them much just because, well, they haven't changed positions much up at the front. This battle of 4 is where it's at, and it is a battle for 6th position.
You say that, but the lead for the GTOs is right door to door right now as they're going through the final corner. Yoni Hagner just on the outside of Philly Rolla. He's got the speed, he's got the pace, he's going to make that work as they get passed by the GTP of Steve Bycroft. But Yoni Hagner, a really good move around the outside of that corner. Impressive. I think they might have had the opportunity because of the lap car of Michael Hayne.
So Yoni Hagner finally up at the front, but what can he do with it? Is Philly Rolla going to go back on the attack? They've got a Glacier Racing 1-2 if they can take it home from here. They got to be careful.
Is Rolla going to be more aggressive than Yoni's been? Let's find out at the end of this straight. Nope, he's backed it off. He's going to stay in that draft. It looks like they don't want to take any risks at this moment.
Now, am I seeing correctly? Is Tobias Gerber in for a scheduled stop here? I don't think he's hit anything recently.
Yeah, it looks like a scheduled stop for him.
All right, our first of our mid-pack.
And he is taking tires.
Really. Ah.
And while
18-second stop, and he's out.
And while we're watching this, Ben Laughter trying to make his way around Unhola. Unhola is going to have to give up the position. This is for P6 in the GTPs. These guys are duking it out really hard still. And it looks like Aitor Sintes Guiendo behind him. And wow, that got really close.
Guiendo, unfortunately, going a little hot into the corner. But I think Unhola is starting to understand the extent of his damage as they get held up behind Mukanos, still riding in fourth in the GTOs. That's going to give a potential opportunity as they almost go 3 wide through turn 9. This might not end well. He's trying to hold his position. Mukanos is like, just let me finish this race, and more contact as Unhola unfortunately finds the wall again.
Wow, what a crazy moment there.
And more contact between Unhola and Loopson.
Unhola's being a little disrespectful at this point. He's got significant damage and is off pace, and he's blocking these guys up. I understand the fight for position, but at this stage in the game, you're just out there being a wrecking ball. It's dangerous.
Let's take a look at the replay of the incident with Mukanos. Poor guy. I mean, he was doing the best he could in the situation. He had both Unhola and Sintes Guiendo trying to go around both sides. It was out of turn 9. Looks like we didn't quite go far enough back here. Well, that's the second contact. This is out of turn 9 that we were looking for. But regardless, he's able to keep going, and he hasn't lost a position. He's got 21 seconds back to Reed Miller. Even still, Nick Mukanos is probably going to be really watching his mirrors for the rest of this race, just praying he can get the points, because Olenek is back out on track. He just, unfortunately, is not going to be gaining many positions for it.
Yeah, that's just, unfortunate events for everybody involved, pretty much. Like, nobody really gained there except Ben Laughter, except for Sintes Guiendo, who was able to pull some gaps, and he's now back up to Ben Laughter.
So Laughter thought he was out of the woods for a little bit, but Aitor has other thoughts about this race. We're now past the halfway point. Let's check in on our leaders since we haven't watched them in a while. Still Albrecht, and is still holding Gerber at bay by over 2 seconds. Here you see the number 9. This is going to be a points gain, but not a huge points gain, to be honest.
And the battle for 7th in the GTPs is really heating up as they go around the 2 leaders in GTO. They're really struggling. The 2 leaders in GTO are struggling a little bit for tires right now.
They've dealt with a lot of traffic today.
It looks like the leader's in.
Justin Albrecht taking his stop. So that gives the lead back to Fabian Gerber temporarily. Let's see if he takes tires, though. We saw Tobias Gerber go up on the jacks.
Justin does as well.
All right, so seems like the order of the day is looking like fresh rubber as he gets going once again. Anti-Turho, Ben Laughter also pitting. Wonder if it's because of the long sweeping corners around here. Do you think that's wearing them out enough that there's enough pace advantage to take them?
Yeah, definitely. The high temperatures around this track right now are seriously dangerous, and they're really wearing out the tires. It's frankly, like the GTOs are going to have to go all the way on these tires, but as we take a look at Jess Coleman coming in, it's it's going to be a really sketchy run for them.
Still waiting on a number of our prototypes to take their stop. Mukanos is in for his. Is Mukanos taking tires? I think he
Lucano's did. It
did.
looks like he might have taken two, but he's revving the engine right now, and now he gets going. But that is an interesting strategy from him. It's entirely possible that that was intentional, but it's entirely possible it wasn't at the same time. So he was stationary for 23.4 seconds, whereas Yes Coleman, who didn't take tires, was stationary for 16.2 seconds. He's going to come back out in the fifth position, so it looks like
It-
he is going to hold on to his points. He
well,
came in the fourth position, so
Reed Miller was about 20 seconds back, so I think he should be okay with those extra seconds. Reed still has to pit, even though he's overtaken him. Sintez Gallendo's taking his stop. Loopson as well. Bit of a mixed bag on strategy here. Also see J.E. Hyde taking his stop. Highest bidder right now is still Albrecht. We're waiting for Gerber and Bycroft to take their stops. Wonder if Gerber's going to respond this time by, because he's coming up towards the final two corners. And he's been dealing with traffic, so he's likely going to be a little bit slower this time around. Maybe he'll want to stay out.
I think if you're in the lead of the GTP, you want to stay out and take a look and see whether or not your tire wear is going to net you anything, whether or not the new tires are going to net a significant delta when it comes to lap time. But if you're further back, you want to pit now and you want to get those tires and get out as quick as you can.
In the end, he did stay out. He's dropped Steve Bycroft by quite a gap. Steve, the final step on the podium once things settle out, we expect, is in second right now due to the stops. He's 5 seconds behind. He's going to lap the car of Nate Loopson, with him having just finished his pit stop. Back to our leaders in the GTOs, though. This has been one of the closest, most consistent fights all race long. It is still Hagner in the lead ahead of Rolla.
Their tires are really showing significant signs of wear. The understeer is really heavy, and they're extremely slow through these corners. Nick McConnell might have actually had the right idea by taking tires. We'll find out by the end of the race whether he makes up any more positions. But these two guys going to go around one more time.
Do we know if would Mukanos be able to take all four in that amount of time, or did he just make a mistake and only take one, and just unchecked the box by the time he realized his mistake?
Pretty sure that it would have been just one. I don't think you could do all four in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think that he might have just taken one or two.
Because I thought that it was about a minute time usually for tires for these cars. I'd be surprised. I'd be shocked if he managed a 23-second stop with all four. As we watch the number 12 continue on, despite the contact that he had, let's see. We'll see on which side was it. I think it was this side, on his right side. I'm not really seeing any damage on either side.
No, I don't think he picked up any damage from that incident with Anhola, but if he did get one tire, his car's going to be behaving extremely strangely for him, so he might just be taking it easy at this point. But he's lost some time to Reed Miller a bit, so he's clearly nursing a car that's behaving a little strangely because of that pit stop.
Still waiting on Miller himself to come in. In fact, it's only Miller, Trangrade, Rolla, and Hagner yet to take pit stops. Everybody else in the GTO class has been in and out at least once. Now, some of them might have taken a very early stop due to the incident getting repairs. I'm not sure if they'll be able to make it to the end.
And Hagner's in. Rolla's going to go around one more time.
Oh, interesting strategy. Yoni trundling down the pit lane looking for his stall. In all of this action, Gerber and Bycroft also are yet to come in.
Hagner
Gerber's
goes up
gonna
on
go around
Jax.
one more time. Ooh. Now this should give us a good idea of Mukanos on whether Hagner is taking 4. Oh, maybe they whipped those pit teams into shape and they can get more tires, or everybody's just being very forgetful, because that was 17 seconds.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that they've got the pit teams into shape. But that being said, with Nick Bucano's taking a 23-second stop, it's likely that then he took more tires than even Hagner did. So I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and find out exactly how long it takes to do pit stops in the GTOs.
Yeah.
But Bycroft coming in and out.
A lot of questions currently. Bycroft finished his stop. So at this point, we're waiting on Unhola and Gerber. This promotes Tommy up to P4, but he'll lose a number of positions once he takes his set of fuel. Bycroft returns in 3rd. Significantly, Bycroft is 15 seconds behind Albrecht. He was 3 seconds slower in the stop, but Steve Bycroft is just dropped off a cliff compared to Albrecht.
Yeah, I'm not sure entirely what happened. Oh, Billy Roll is in from the lead of the GTOs.
This is where it gets fascinating. Is Ove Trangerade in? Yes, he is. He's been running a quiet race to 3rd. Ove would probably be happy with the podium after his last race at the 49s at Pocono. Tires for Rula as well.
It's going to be interesting to see where he comes out in comparison to Hagner, whether or not Hagner got a good out lap. He's looking a little slidey around the final corner. We're taking a look at Hagner. We'll see whether or not this works. He's going to go by Rolla, getting rolling now, and Hagner quite a ways by.
And that was about a second slower for Villy Rolla. I'm starting to think that the tires are worth a heck of a lot between this gap that we're seeing between Hagner and Rolla, and then even in the prototypes, Albrecht getting a bunch of time on Bycroft because he pitted so much earlier. Those fresh tires, in fact, Albrecht has gapped Gerber as well, not just Bycroft. Fresh tires are the order of the day. These laps are looking so much faster, Adam.
Definitely. Nick Bucanos back up to P4. So everyone in the lead. Oh, and Gareth Robichaud has gone around in the GTPs. It looks like he spun it himself going through the carousel there.
Yep, you're going to see... Oh, there's the exit of the toe of the boot here. It's where he lost it. This looks very similar to Stefan Schlager's, except he didn't have anybody to the outside. Almost a carbon copy, except in his case, he didn't back it into the wall.
You know, Gareth is probably kicking himself for not pitting earlier than now. With the track temperature dropping, but the tire temperature staying high, he's probably going to come into the pits this time. No, he goes around another time. So it's interesting. He might be trying to run the whole race, but I don't think it's worth it with the tire strategy the way it is right now. Everyone needing to take tires, including the GTOs, which is very unusual.
Back to Tobias Gerber. And a little bit of a tussle here because Martin Krejcik just behind him. Actually, did Tobias get by him recently? I'm going to double check on this. Because remember, Tobias has been moving forward. No, it wasn't recent if he did get by. Martin's been doing a good job holding on to him in that case.
Yeah, and Tobias is going to get held up here in the last corner. No, it looks like Aaron Cortez is going to go to the outside, but that's going to hold up Kraytrick. Kraytrick unable to get a good exit off the corner. That's going to give Tobias a good run down to the front to the first corner. But it looks like Tobias is a little bit down on top end speed, which might be what is keeping Kraytrick in striking distance.
Watching from Kraytrick's perspective, let's see if he gains on the backstretch, which is really the highest speed portion of the track.
Yeah, Gerber's down on top end speed. Look at how much he's gaining at this point. That's not just draft effect. That's some damage, I think.
We saw on screen it was 5 miles an hour difference between them. And that's bad news for Tobias Gerber, because if he's a sitting duck on the straights, but faster in the corners, that's going to make it very hard if he gets past to try and retake the position. Oh, he's really wide coming through the toe of the boot as well. Martin can't do anything with it for the moment, but looks like if he stays patient, something might come to him.
Yeah, that severe amount of late corner understeer is the sign of a GTP that's lacking downforce. It's possible that he's got under tray damage. It's possible it's damage we can't see on the car, but I think Tobias is a little bit hampered at this point.
Yeah, something we haven't talked about. This isn't the repaved version of Watkins Glen. This is an old version, so this is a bumpy track. And you're right. I wonder if maybe he just hit something wrong, went over a curb weird, and maybe Gerber hurt the underside of the car in the process. He gets held up by Ove Trangarade. Thinks about the outside. I'm not sure that's going to work out. They're going to look for 3 wide. Martin Kraytrick gets the run. And with this being the run onto the backstretch, oh, this is bad news for Gerber. There goes Kraytrick off and away.
You know, I talk about these all the time, but that was a decisive move for Martin Kraytrick. He just decided that he was going to take that middle there and makes it work. But look at that, Tobias Gerber keeping up pace under the draft. I can see now just a little tiny bit of front end damage on Gerber, so that might be what's holding him up. But Kraytrick, really decisive move, good pass for him.
We've finished the pit stops and we're in the final quarter of the race. So let's run down the top 5 of each of your classes, starting with our prototypes. Justin Albrecht didn't put it on the pole, didn't even put it on the front row, but managed to get quickly into second place, applied pressure to Fabian Gerber, and eventually got by. Then a clever pit strategy managed to put him even farther out of reach and has been commanding this race. Gerber still cruising around in second, probably knows that his situation isn't too bad. He still has plenty of points gap between himself and Albrecht as long as he brings it home and collects the points today. Behind them, it is a distant gap back to Steve Bycroft. I talked about how he's been one of the fast drivers. Unfortunately, not today for the bright yellow machine of the Hoosier. He will round out the podium if things stay as they are. Martin Kraytrick, we just watched his pass that took place. That puts him into 4th position. This is a climb up from P5, which is a very good qualifying from Martin compared to usual for him. So a good day all around for the number 18. That is because he passed a slow on straight line speed Tobias Gerber, number 16, currently sits in 5th. Gerber, though, at least will probably be happy with the top 5 considering he didn't get a qualifying lap in and has climbed up from 14th on the grid. Let's go to the GTOs.
Yoni Hagner qualifying P4 in the GTO class. He clawed his way up to his teammate Villarola, and they had a good battle for quite a while. But Hagner taking that early pit stop 1 lap earlier than Rolla has pulled him out to a 4.2 second lead over Villarola, our pole sitter. Rolla, who's had a very good race this entire race, but he's been pushing it quite hard to stay ahead of Hagner before, and so he lost a bit of his tires and had to pit a little bit later, so he's now back in the 2nd position. Ove Trangarade, one of the major beneficiaries of that early accident. He's up 2 positions from his starting position of 5th, and he is now sitting happily in 3rd position. He's been racing his own race this entire race. Nick McConos, happy to see Rob Olenek wrecking out at the beginning of that race. He's now going to pick up a nice points haul over Rob in the 4th position. And then we have Reed Miller in 5th position, who's been hanging on to that 5th ever since the drop of the green flag. He's been doing a good job, just hanging in there, racing his own race as well.
But I was curious. Rob Olenek appears to have come back into the pits. I'm not sure if he's just decided he can't catch any more cars. I'm seeing he's 8 laps down, 7 from the next car up, which is Daniel Sadro. 12 minutes left. Yeah, I think he's just realized he can't make any more inroads on positions. So we go to Tobias Gerber once more. The pain isn't over, unfortunately. Ben Laughter's now caught him. After that, I think he should have a ways until the next drive, about 12 seconds until Anti-Terho. But Tobias Gerber with a sluggish car here towards the end.
And Joe, I can report that Tommy Anhola has had even more problems. He's now way off pace. He spun it out of 1, so he's probably going to have to park it for the day.
Yeah, it just looks like he clattered the Onco. We don't need to go to that. Let's stick with this battle that looks like it is bubbling up. Laughter in the number 17, Gerber in the number 16. Let's watch from Ben's perspective. Always amazes me how narrow the windshield is, though, in these cars, Adam. Just it's like a letterbox.
Yeah, these cars are basically a rocket ship, Joe. It's really impressive to watch them go around here. They're just giant wings, these cars, and it's amazing that I mean, look at all the information they have on the dashboard, much less coming out the front windshield. He's got a windshield full of Tobias Gerber right now. Ben Laughter doing a good job putting his way through. But yeah, they don't have that much of a porthole, but they have exactly what they need.
I guess you don't really need to see up into the sky, even on a steep hill like this. And on that steep climb, reaching the top of the hill, then Laughter moves to the outside. Tobias Gerber, is he going to try and fight it, take it into the carousel? Nope, he's just going to fall into line. He sees the writing on the wall, and he slips back into 6th now with that move.
Yeah, Tobias's front end damage is really making him struggle. These GTPs are so sensitive to aerodynamic damage. You lose 5 miles an hour just on the slightest tap, and so it's really tough to drive these cars anywhere that's really rough. Like we saw in Detroit, lots of guys losing speed on the top end, but here now at Watkins Glen, we're seeing the same issue. It's possible Tobias just clobbered a curb and now off 5 miles an hour on top speed.
Certainly would be disappointing, especially disappointing way to lose positions this late in the race. Only 10 minutes left to go now. That was our closest battle. We've lost the battle for the lead in the GTOs, unless we get some severe traffic. Yoni Hagner still ahead by about 4 seconds. Of course, we've seen here, nothing can be discounted in this race and in this series. Just don't know until that checkered flag will fall.
Yeah, most of these drivers have been handling the multi-class aspect of this series, which we haven't talked about much. Oh no! Oh, Nate Lupson wrecking it out of the final turn onto the front stretch. He just got a massive whip of torque steer, and he just extremely pirouetted coming out of the.
Let's take a look at that replay. See, he's dealing with a little bit of traffic here. And Nate was the one that caught it coming through the chute, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
So he nearly did it again, but unfortunately there's a little less runoff here. You can see how, wow, is that like a 720 or what was that?
More like a 1080, I think, Joe. He went around 4 times, I think.
Fortunately, as extreme as these cars are, he's not going to be able to qualify for the X Games. But he gets it going once again. He's down in 9th now.
You know, as we were talking about with the multi-class scenario, we haven't talked about it much today because everyone's been handling it really well. But these cars really, both classes have a very different speeds down the straights, down through the turns, so it's really difficult to try and pass each other as you go through here, because the GTOs have to be looking at their mirror most of the time, and the GTVs have to understand how the GTOs drive enough that they can make sure to dodge the GTOs when they start to get understeery through the corners. So
Loopson's not out of the woods. He almost lost it again coming out of turn 9. We saw it on screen live as it happened. There was a nice catch to keep it from clattering the Armco one more time. That is Villy Rolla in second, who is just ahead of him. If Villy's watching his mirrors, he's probably hoping that his car stays steady in front of him. He's got a nice second place if he can keep from getting wrecked here. There he goes cleanly by.
I said that Unhola was going to pull it off the track, but I was wrong. Unhola took it into the pits, repaired the required damage, and is now just ahead of Nate Lipson on track. But he is in 13th place, a couple of laps down from him.
Yeah, I mean, he could still gain positions. I'm kind of with you, though. I almost feel like Tommy needs to give up the ghost on this one. As what is happening here? This is Loopson, and oh, he's being lapped by Gerber. Just a little bit hairy with Rolla in the mix there.
Yeah, taking it 3 wide while you're lapping a car is always a sketchy moment, but
let's watch that one more time. I had looked away just as that was happening. Suddenly I look back and I'm wondering, what are we dealing with this time? I mean, to be fair, Gerber is trying to chase the leader down, but
that's a little bit more ambitious than I would put it this late in the race. I mean, I know Gerber's trying to chase the leader down, but he's 7 seconds from doing that. And while we were away, Terho self-spun in 7th position, and he's got some significant damage. He's going to keep it on track, but yeah, he's got significant left side damage. So a lot of these GTP drivers having some serious issues right now.
Yeah, I asked at the top of the broadcast if this was going to be a match made in heaven, but I think it's been a little more hellish than what some of the drivers would have liked. Terho qualified in 4th. He's down in 8th. This has certainly not been the day he would have been hoping for. And he's actually marked, I'm seeing Terho as the highest I rating of anybody in here. He's got the number 1. And he is a World Cup driver. So on the road side, I'm not sure which of the series he runs in, but certainly is finding this series a little bit difficult to adapt to.
Yeah, we've seen Terho in previous seasons, and he's generally pretty consistent, but every once in a while, anyone makes a mistake, even a world-class driver. So these GTP cars their margin for error is so slim. One of the reasons that makes this series so interesting is that you really drive on a knife's edge in these old vehicles, and so both the GTOs and the GTPs are challenging to drive, even for the best drivers in this service.
For those curious, Terho runs with a 7,000 plus I rating right now. I think he's going to take a hit to that today, unfortunately. Less than 5 minutes to go on the clock. As our leader, Justin Albrecht, is coming up on a little bit of traffic. In fact, that is Terho who's going to be lapped. And that'd be a nice feather in your cap. That's not often that you could say I've lapped a world championship driver.
Yeah, and as you said, Joe, if you're not used to driving this series, it can get, especially these hour-long races, you know, these cars get really ungainly after about an hour. They start to feel very strange with the amount of damage that you pick up with the small little tweaks, the length of the race, the track heat, the tire heat. So, you know, it's one of those things that you have to get used to over time. You kind of build up endurance for it.
I have to admit, I'm a little bit jealous of the iRacing folks that got to spend time with Brabham and talk to him about driving the real car back in '89. I would have loved to have picked his brain and been able to hear just what that experience is like, the G-forces that you would feel, and how in the world do you get over the fear of trying to race one of these things, especially how close you are to the front. They had a lot less safety on the crash impact zones of these cars as we take a look at our leader in the GTOs.
And these GTOs, seeing some of them drift a little bit around these corners reminds me of how envious I am of Brabham at this point in his career when doing the Stadium Super Trucks.
I think you're thinking of Matt Brabham, which is the son of was it David? I always get confused if it was David. or which one it was that
No,
drove.
Brown Senior drove a super truck in one race last year, actually.
Did he
So
really? Wow, at this age, he's driving super trucks. That's got to be rough on your body. Credit to him. Still got the
it
zest in
was
him, I
just
guess.
it was just one race, but yeah, he took it around. Oh,
Yoni Hagner taking it around more laps. What'd you see?
Seth Pfeiffer, he's down in P8 in the GTOs. He has just blown his engine coming out of turn 10, so he's
Yeah.
gonna just kind of ease it into the pits now. He's right ahead of our leader, I believe.
It's the first blown engine we've seen today, if I'm not mistaken. That's the leader he just let by. Well, wow, it's a good thing that didn't happen as the leader was right behind him. That
We've
could
seen
have
that
really
happen
shaped the
before.
race. Yep. I told you can't count on anything until the race is over and the checkered flag has fallen.
Speaking of that, Joe, I know we only have 2 minutes left, but Nick Picanos is 1.7 seconds behind Ove Trangerade for the third position
Huh.
in GTO. And Ove might be pacing himself here, but these guys are into their second to last lap, I believe. And so this is going to be interesting to see whether or not Nick can get there. He's going to be hard pressed to do so because a 2-second gap is nothing to scoff at.
Let's could we take a lap comparison look between those two then? Because I haven't been paying attention to that all race long.
Oh no, Ove Trangerade getting pushed wide by Tobias Gerber. That's going to lose him a ton of time. Ove Trangerade now very much within striking distance of Nick Picanos. If they're closing in on white flag lap, Picanos is going to have to get extremely feisty here to get his way by Trangerade.
I think they're going to get the white flag next time by because Albrecht, with a minute left, is coming around the carousel. So we'll stay on this. I'll give a shout once Albrecht gets to the start-finish line here. There's the lap comparison between them. And yeah, Mukanos consistently faster every lap.
Wow, Ove Trangerade extremely loose on entry right now. His Audi GTO not behaving well. Nick Picanos, if he just keeps it clean and gets a good drive off, and we know he's good at that, we've seen it before, then he could make his way by when they go through the S's and get up to that backstretch.
Talked about taking care of the tires. I wonder if Mukanos is just a little bit more gentle on his. As they come around to take the white flag. Oh, I know we can't leave this now, but we got to. It is Justin Albrecht coming out of the final corner. The number 9 victory once again over Fabian Gerber today. That'll be a nice little chunk out of Gerber, but let's head back to that battle.
Nick Picanos not as good of a run as he would like. He's going to have to get him somewhere else, I think, but he's got a decent speed coming onto the backstretch. If he's going to do this, he's really going to have to send it. This is not an ideal run for Picanos. He's going to have to wait until after the carousel. He's going to have to do it somewhere in the booth.
They come out of the carousel now. We don't need to go to Hagner yet. He's still got a couple more corners to go. Let's see how feisty Mukanos is to try and take a podium. He's already got points over his main rival in the championship. He doesn't want to throw them away. Oof, you can see that Trangerade is pushing 2 wheels in the grass coming out of the chute. And we got to go to Yoni Hagner because the number 2 is going to take victory over his fellow Finn. A little bit of clever pit strategy is all it took to give himself a comfortable gap. A win here for our Glacier Racing TV car.
Nick Picanos really has the corner speed, but Ove Trangerade's hanging on to it. Nick Picanos gets a little bit tight into the corner. Ove Trangerade a little bit loose out of the corner. He doesn't have the run. Nick Picanos is going to have to do something desperate into the final turn if he's going to try and make it work.
Making him race all the way to the line. Last corner here. It is going to take a phenomenal exit for him to do it. I just don't think it's enough. Ove Trangerade is going to manage to take the final step on the podium just ahead of Mukanos, who still will, thankfully for him, manage to take the fight to our points leader into the GTOs. But we are going to take it to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. You're going to see all the upcoming races here on your screen. And then after that, we'll have the driver interviews as well as the official results. So don't go away. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International. This was frantic around here today with the Kamel GT series. But round 10 is over, and there are now only 2 to go. And Justin Albrecht took another victory over Fabian Gerber, an important psychological victory as well, considering he outpaced him and out-strategized him with a little bit of fresh tires, allowing him to pull a gap. But Gerber was nearly 10 seconds behind at the line. Steve Bycroft even farther back, but still manages to finish on the podium. Martin Krejcik gets a 4th place. How about Ben Laughter not getting a qualifying time in, finishing in 5th? Same with that driver behind him, Tobias Gerber, 14th on the grid, but finishes 6th today. Heitor Sintez Gallindo gets a P7 with Anti-Turbo in P8. J.E. Hyde had a lot of action out there, finishing 9th in the end. John Keefe, unfortunately, some damage sent him backwards, and he still finishes within the top 10 at least. Nate Lupson was looking for a lot more here today, and unfortunately, a couple errors made him fall all the way to 11th. Gareth Robichaud takes 12th, and the last of the prototypes still running was Tommy Unhola in P13.
We have Yoni Hagner as the winner of the GTO class, well over Villarola by a couple of seconds. We have Ove Trangrade, who finishes just ahead of Nick Bucanos to finish off the podium positions. Reed Miller comes home in 5th. Yes, Coleman in 6th position. A good run from them. Michael Haynes in 7th, Aaron Cortez 8th, Seth Pfeiffer in 9th position, and Daniel Salguero rounds out your top 10. Then we have the non-finishers here of Antonio Alvarez, Rob Olenek, Stefan Schlocker, Douglas Cooper, Andre Castro, Ryan Lang, and Jamie Hall.
And we have our second place driver in the prototypes ready to talk to us. Fabian Gerber now joins us in the booth, as the number 4 unfortunately was not able to take another victory. But Fabian,
Hello.
talk to us a little bit about the tires. We noticed that a lot of the drivers that pitted early seemed to gain a lot of time. Did you regret in the end pitting as late as you did?
No, not at all. I actually thought my strategy was really good, and I had the fastest lap of the race also by 6/10. That's quite good actually. But I just had so much bad luck in traffic today. It was horrible. I can't believe my luck today. But the speed was there, but it just wasn't going to be. But it was a good race after all. Justin did a really good job. I congratulate him.
Yeah, he certainly took the fight to you. Did you pay attention to the temperature when you came in? Because it was pretty steamy out there on the track surface. Does that make you tweak your setup before you go to the grid?
Usually not, but actually most practices were hot anyway, so we prepared the car for a hot race anyway. So I actually felt pretty good. Usually I have my difficulties in the heat, but this time I actually thought heat is good for me, and it somewhat was, but Justin was just fast enough. And maybe he had also a bit less wing than me. He could overtake me really easily, and I was gaining time in the boot, so it was different strategies, I guess.
Towards the end of the race, we saw you make a somewhat aggressive move into the carousel where you split an Audi and a Nissan. I believe it was Tobias Gerber and I think it was Pfeiffer to your inside. Was that you just pushing hard, hoping that something would give you an opportunity with Albrecht? We're a bit shocked that with only, I think it was like 6 minutes to go, that you were still trying to go through there 3 wide.
In the loop, was it that?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that wasn't my brother, but I was confused. It wasn't aggressive at all for me. I was just really confused because the Nissan let the Audi by, and I just got confused where to go now. And they actually left me some space, so I thought, okay, they both saw me, so I can go through it. It wasn't meant aggressively at all. I was just confused. I've never seen Nissan letting an Audi by. That was the problem.
Well, at least your brother's being a bit polite with you on track. Again, commiserations. It wasn't a win, but congratulations on a podium.
Thank you very much, guys. See you next week.
That was Fabian Gerber, second place today. A little bit farther down in the prototypes, Adam's going to talk to Ben Laughter and his climb through the field.
Yeah, Ben, an impressive climb through the field. You were up 10 positions, starting 15th, finishing 5th. How'd you do it today?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It wasn't the intention. I had an weird Oculus crash right at the beginning of qualifying, so I had to reboot the computer and come right back in, and then I messed up my one qualifying chance. So how I did it today was, tried to be, smart with decision making. I spent a lot of time in the Audi over the years, and so I just did my best to not put myself in compromising positions, knowing that the Audi was going to track out here and there.
Yeah, and it was good to see you back in the series and racing in the GTPs and coming back again this week. And so when you were getting up there, you were getting pretty close to Martin Kraytrick by the end. Did you think you had something for him?
Yeah, I did. I think if I had 2 more laps, or if I were just a little more aggressive with traffic here and there, I could have gotten him. I think I had about a 2/10, 3/10 edge on him on pace, but I wanted to finish the race, and not take out any Audi.
And when you saw Tobias Gerber coming back to you, did you realize he had damage? Were you worried about getting damage yourself as you were trying to make your way back?
Well, sure. It's hard to tell. The wing, unless the damage is in the back, you can't really see what's going on in the front of those things. The wing just blocks your entire view. So when I came up on him, I mean, obviously his top end was down and he was defending. So I thought he's probably damaged, but he's a tough racer, so I knew he wouldn't just give it to me for free.
Well, Ben, fantastic finish today. Is there anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, Rob, who looks like he had a bad day in the Audis, but he gave me this setup from last season, and it worked like a champ. So thanks to Rob.
Definitely. Well, fantastic finish today, Ben, and it's great to see you racing the series.
Thanks, guys. Good show as always.
All right, that was Ben Lapter, our 5th place finisher in the GTPs. And back to you, Joe.
Yep, that is going to close out our interviews for today. We have 2 rounds to go, and we'll talk about the next one in a moment. But first, we want to thank the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and also to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Again, if you have not subscribed, if you look below this video, or if you go to their YouTube page, you'll see a big red button that says subscribe. Click that, you won't miss a moment here in the Kamel GT series. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Ram. The next race will be in a week's time. That'll be at Donington. It'll be August 24th, next Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss that one. That should be fascinating with the way that is such a unique track. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.